So what's going on guys, Kids here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will explain how to get the best possible start in Dark and Darker by explaining the most important and fundamental game mechanics and knowledge that most players struggle with. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So then first of all we have the classes. As the beginner I suggest you to stick either way with a fighter, cleric or a bard. And once you've increased your knowledge of the game, you can start transitioning to all the other classes by trying them all out and then see which one fits your playstyle. But for the first 50 to 100 games, I recommend to stick with my top 3 recommendation. Then next up we have bunch of tabs. The first one is the lobby, then the next one is the high roller. This is where the top players of the current session are displayed. Then we have the class section, where we can find the training area which is not yet done. And then we have the perks and skills, where we can choose power-ups for our character. We unlock at level 5, level 10 and level 15 additional slots. And all the way on the bottom we have our default skills. This can be changed between games without any cost, so feel free to play around with them, experiment, and try them all out, because for beginners, this won't be a game changing, so stick with the most simplistic skills that you can understand and utilize. Then the next tab is the stash tab. Here we can see what we have equipped in terms of gear, in terms of perks and skills. And on the bottom we have the stats. We can also open details and see a more detailed breakdown of our stats. And on the right we have the stash, that we can use to deposit things we don't want to take in our next adventure. The merchant tab has various NPCs that you can sell and buy from. Your best friend here will be the collector, who you will be selling all the collectibles you get in your dungeon in order to acquire gold. Then afterwards we have the trade tab, and not to overcomplicate things at the start, I will explain this tab a bit later in the video. Then next up we have the gathering hall. This is where you can talk with other players from different servers. Then we have the customize, where you can equip all the different cosmetics you have bought using the in-game currency. In the shop where you will find the said cosmetics. Inside the tavern, here we can change the map that we are playing. So first of all we have the Goblin Caves for solo content, also the higher ruler variation that you can access once you reach level 15. Then we have the ruins, and this is currently only for solos and duos. This one does not have a high roller version, and the Howling Crypts. This is for trios and solos and even duos. And this does have a high roller version. High roller means that the mobs are stronger, but the loot is much better. As a beginner, I suggest you to go to the Goblin Caves and make sure that it's selected on the left and then click start. So with the basic menu out of the way, now I will go through the fundamentals we have to focus on during our first few runs. And after that we will speed things up. The first important button is the tab, which will open our inventory. On the right we have the minimap, and in the middle we have our HP, our skills and any passive effects we have. Left click is to attack, and holding down a left click will go into the combat attacks. But don't forget that each weapon has a different one. And of course right clicking, if a weapon can, then it can block. As far as enemies go, spiders are one of the weakest and most common ones, which can spawn from a pot. If you encounter spiders, I recommend to hit the pot and then jump on it, and this will elevate your character, thus making spiders not be possible to hit you, so then you can easily farm them without losing any HP in return. In this game you will meet many enemy types, and I will make a separate video on explaining them all, but in a short summary, if you are a ranged class, then run around moving enemies while doing damage, but if you are melee class, then always be close to the enemy. And then first of all wait for his attack animation, and after he's locked into it, then there will be like a second or two break where the enemy doesn't do anything, and then that is the time for you to do damage. As you get better and better, you can go for 2 hits in a row, depending on what mob you're facing. In combat you can protect yourself by blocking attack with a weapon or just dodge the attack, which is usually the safest option. This is the first thing that you should be working on as a new player. The less damage you take fighting mobs, the more HP you will have when it matters the most during PvP encounters. And these basic combat principles will work the same against players as well. Okay, so now that we've taken some damage, you can see that we have a bright red HP bar and a faded red. The faded red is rested HP that can be recovered by pressing G and resting. Once you get up from resting, the rested XP will disappear, so make sure you have time for a full reset before doing it. Just like with pots, Barrels also will drop loot and give XP when broken. Chaps on the map can be used to damage mobs, making your fight easier, but be aware that if mobs die to the chap and not your hit, then you will not receive XP for killing it. When looting, items with a bluish background are items that can be used and equipped, while items that have a reddish background are items that are not for your class. During player encounters, you may be lucky and find a friendly player, so then you can either way be friendly yourself or go for the attack. But be aware that backstabbing is a thing because extractions are limited, so tread carefully. Another note is that teaming with another player to kill a solo is frowned upon and should be avoided, but in group content this does not apply. Since we have a potion, might as well explain how they work. So basically every potion, no matter the rarity, will restore 15 flat health, while bandages will restore 15 rested health. Standing in a zone will damage you, but this can be mitigated using potions or healing abilities. You can stay in the zone for a limited amount of time, depending on your resources, so don't be afraid to venture into it. Then next up we have a thing called extraction. This is the place where you can choose to finish your game by extracting your character and taking all the loot with you. The first few extraction points will start appearing around the same time that the second last circle is about to close. Sometimes you will have to stand in the zone and take damage if you see that the extraction doors are about to open. Only one player can use this, and once used, some rubble will fall, indicating that this extraction point is not usable anymore. But be aware that this is not a default extraction that you will use, but most players don't know about this. But then we have the second extraction type, which will appear as blue portals, and about them you will be notified on the top right, and they will also have a specific sound that will play if you're close to them. Unfortunately, if there is a player that is guarding the blue portal, then you should retreat and find a different one. Or like I previously explained, the one-time extraction points are good as well. So if you don't want to, you don't have to always fight, but you can just look for a different exit. Then after we extracted, now is the right time to sell our stuff. At the collector we can exchange collectibles for gold. Silver is a currency that can be used to buy gold. At the treasurer the ratio is 3 to 1. Shift right clicking an item in our inventory will send it to our stash. And if we do it from our stash, then it will send it right back to our inventory. Now that we have gold we can buy gear and weapons from the merchants. And this is the basic and most simplistic way to explain the cycle that you will be continuously doing. So you will go into a game, kill players or mobs or both, then take loot from them and then extract. After extracting, sell all the gear that you can't use and buy the gear that you want to and rinse and repeat. Then from here, the only big change is our character level. The biggest milestones are level 5, 10 and 15. From level 1 to 14, you will usually improve your character stats and skills, and at level 15 you become a trader, and then now you can use the trade feature. So now instead of selling your items to the merchant or the traveler for low gold, you can sell/trade your high tier items in the traders guild with other players. After you become a trader, it is very easy to sell and trade items in the traders guild. So you will see a channel list for items categorized at the left side. The channel names will consist of weapon, armor, utility and miscellaneous. You can join any of the channels and start trading. After you joined one of the channels, you can link an item in the trade chat by holding a shift and clicking on an item in your inventory. You can right click on an item linked by another trader to request a trade, and it's that simple. As this is one of the last game mechanics that you should know as a new player, so I will stop at this. And by the time you play your first 50 to 100 games, you can come back to my channel, because a full Dark and Darker endgame guide will be waiting for you. So with that said, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and enable that notification bell. And I will see you in the next video, so take it easy, peace.